everyone. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the Reverend Clayton Wilfer from Joy Christian Community Church. Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Let's pray. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, during this Advent season, we are reminded of your promises to a world in distress, your promises of wisdom, of peace, and of righteousness. I pray and ask that you would give these three things, your wisdom, your peace, and your righteousness, to all of the leaders of the town here who are leading a town and its citizens in a time of distress. So guide them, strengthen them, keep them strong. Help them to lead according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Liz.
Mayor Dickey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Spellich,
Present.
Councilmember Brown,
Gone.
Councilmember Friedel,
Present.
Councilmember Magazine,
Here.
Councilmember Charno,
Here.
Councilmember Tolas.
Here.
Thank you. Good one, Councilman. We begin, as always, with our reports from mayor, council members, and the town manager. Grady, do you have anything?
I'll be really quick. As the mayor and council are aware, and the public, we had our annual turkey trot last week on Thanksgiving. Rachel is going to just say a few words about it because I was not able to be there this year, and she has some interesting facts to report about it. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. And thank you for entrusting us to host the Turkey Trot despite some of our current situations, our health crisis going on. But we were able to modify the event quite significantly. I'd like to thank both Councilmember Friedel and Councilmember Spellich for being there. Excuse me, Vice Mayor Spellich for being there. Both of them came out to see it. We had about 1,025 runners that morning. We were able to spread them out and stagger start every 10 minutes. So we had waves going again to help spread folks out. We adjusted the route so that it was very broad. Folks could, again, have room to distance and to have space to run effectively. We took away a lot of our exciting pieces, such as the awards and some of the refreshments. But again, I think that is a small price to pay in order to hold the event. And we had lots of thank yous from community members. We had folks come from as far as Buckeye and Queen Creek to join us. We have a little over 100 join us virtually and run. In fact, we were notified that we had one run in Pennsylvania. So that was very exciting. So we were thrilled to have such a successful event.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you. Council? Yes, Councilman.
I would just like to echo Rachel's comments and say that I thought it was very well spaced out, very well planned and organized, and we actually had a very good time down there. So it was a good thing to be able to participate.
Thank you, Councilman. Liz, could you help Alan with something here first? I'll just give a brief report too. I attended a Zoom meeting with the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. It was a training on SB 1487, which we're all very familiar with. That's where, any legislator can challenge a city or a town. And I sent the link to everybody to see it because it was very interesting and informative. Also, another virtual was Arizona Town Hall, which was about sports and global relations, which was specifically with the Coyotes and with their owner, Xavier Gutierrez, which was interesting because we have our strong relationship going with Glenn Williamson, and of course, there's a big connection with Canada. And we've been doing a lot of economic development work in that arena, so to speak. Mike knows that probably one of the first, no, it was the first hockey game to be canceled because of the virus was one that we were going to be with our neighbors, our Canadian neighbors, they had won some tickets, and we were supposed to go, and that was like literally the first game canceled. So we're looking forward to getting back on track with all of that. It's very positive. On Saturday, we're having the Stroll on the Glow, 2020 edition, usual safety protocols. It's happening on Saturday. Turning the lights on probably around 5:15. Apparently, the sunset is getting so early. It's like around that time. We have some new features, a couple of new lights and attractions, and we're working with the chamber to make it a very safe, fun activity and a happy holiday event. So looking forward to that. That's all I have. Anybody want to add anything? Yes, Mike, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to piggyback on the turkey trot. I wasn't able to make it this year either, but just want to congratulate Rachel and her whole department and all the volunteers that helped out. And as she knows, I was at the one 30 years ago. It was the very first one, and I was a chairman of the then Parks and Recreation Commission, and it's just been fun to see it grow and develop and mature all these 3 decades. So job well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mike. So our next item is recognition of our outgoing councilman. We're going to start asking Councilman Brown if you have any remarks, and then you, Art, and then we'll hear from the council and the public. Councilman.
I have a remark or two. After 20 years, I could go on for a long time about all the accomplishments and where Fountain Hills was when I got on the very first Planning and Zoning Commission and where we're at today. But I won't bore you with the accomplishments. You know, that I will give you the greatest accomplishment that I think we overcame, and probably the most fierce battle that the Mayor Dickey was involved with was the single trash hauler. I've got emails on my computer where I was threatened that if I voted for it, they would run me out of town. And in the same day, I have threatening emails that if I don't vote for it, they'll run me out of town. And it wasn't 1 or 2, but it was probably a half a dozen going both directions. And it was very contentious. And very much like the state land, it was very contentious. So I have lived through some happenings in Fountain Hills that were good for Fountain Hills. And I want to spend a minute and thank the folks that I've worked with. And I've got a handful that I absolutely have to tip my hat to and thank. And the very first would be Bob Howes. Robert Howes was the chairman of the first Planning and Zoning Commission I sat on, and he ran the best meeting of any chairman or mayor that I've ever sat on, and I learned so much for him. And second to him would be the late Michael Downs. Michael Downs did so much for this town on planning and zoning. He was there, once again, it felt like forever, but he worked hard and he did a lot for our town. And right beside that would be Jay Schlum, Mayor Schlum. Mayor Schlum and I have been friends for a long time. He actually was seated to my right when I got on the first planning and zoning, when I was at my first planning and zoning meeting, and I think he was there for 2 meetings before he resigned and then ran for council. And that was a real blow to me because he was my mentor in planning and zoning, getting me started. And I have to say, Henry Leger is possibly the best council person that has ever been seated on a Fountain Hills council, and I feel that way because for 8 years he mentored me, and we met and on every item, virtually on every agenda, and worked through it. And his calmness and level head absolutely was as good during the period when we were going from 100 30 or 40 employees to 50 employees, which was a bloodletting that occurred days after I got on the council, and it was very painful. And the mayor, I point at the mayor because she also was on the same council that watched the people pack their boxes and walk out the front door. And that was painful. But Henry Leger was as solid could be. And I have to tip my hat to him and thank him again, as I almost weep. But, and I've mentioned the one thing that I really felt like might be one of the strongest things we did. The one thing that I voted to approve that I probably would not vote to approve again, as I take a deep breath because it was a tough situation, is the dark sky community. And I have a dozen reasons why I feel that way today. The biggest reason is that we have a fountain that you could see almost from Payson and certainly almost from Mesa, lit up at night for at least 25 miles. You could see our fountain lit up, and it was almost a beacon for our town. And now it doesn't light up. As well as I have always said that I think that our town is a little too dark for the safety of the citizens that walk the streets and run the streets at night. And so I've taken you from what I feel like was one of the most controversial, successful ventures that I sat on, and I could take you through, and I have, here are my notes, I'll show you my notes. I won't do that because we've got a ton of great council people that have served this town, served the people of Fountain Hills. I say serve the town. We are serving each and every individual in this town. It's not that town, it's the individuals that are walking and breathing and driving and going through our town. And this is what the council does. And we don't always vote the way you want us to vote, but you know, that's why there are 7 of us. And with that being said, I just have to truly, truly, truly thank this council. We've got some extremely, extremely strong voices on this council, and we're also bringing some extremely good voices to the council. I wish absolutely the very best to the incoming council, and to the incoming mayor, and to the citizens of Fountain Hills. And I thank you for the opportunity to serve you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to thank the citizens of Fountain Hills for allowing me to serve the last 4 years. It's been an honor. And as Councilman Brown has indicated, not every decision is agreed upon. And there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that that we have to consider, but it was an honor. I hope I served honorably, and I want to thank my wife, Heather, and my family for allowing me to do this, because this is a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings that are at times when kids may have games, that you have family activities, or you're on vacation in Laredo, Mexico, on a phone call with the town council, having to explain to your wife that you're missing happy hour. So we have been there, done that, and but I've always tried to be at these meetings as much as I possibly can and contribute everything I can from my background. I want to thank many people, including my family, as I have, but I moved here in 2002 and immediately got involved, and Councilman Brown was one of the first people I had met way back when he was on P&Z, and I just had a conversation in the hall with him about when he was on P&Z and when he was appointed to the council, and Jay Schlum, Wally Nichols, Linda Kavanaugh, serving on the Chamber of Commerce Board, serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission, serving as the treasurer for the chamber. there's serving on the museum board. I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of people in this community, and I love this community. And I know that we're on the right track. I ran 4 years ago on a platform of growth and economic development. I believe that our community truly needs to have that balance from the retirees and the destination to also being one of the top places to raise a family and to want families to move here. I think we need to have that balance. I've always believed that. And things that I really tried to push forward and hope that the town council members agreed with me. We had a change of guard with the legal counsel for our town. That was a huge decision, and I somehow happened to be the last vote in the deciding vote, and we made a change. And Aaron, I'm really honored that you took the position after a lot of meetings, and you've done an amazing job. And it was the right thing to do. The Copper Wind development. You know, those, maybe people don't understand what was behind the scenes. That may not have ever happened if we didn't have a change that we did. And a lot of things behind the scenes, I think that Copper Wind development, now called the Darrow, is going to be an incredible benefit to this community and is going to bring in tremendous growth, revenue, and the tourism dollars that we need. I've always been a believer in the growth of the downtown. I think that some of the development, the plots that we've developed downtown have been right on the money as to what we need in the community to continue to have that core and have the critical mass that's going to allow businesses that come downtown and have that thriving downtown. I've said in the past, I believe our downtown should be the Beverly Hills of Arizona. Fountain Hills should be the best of the best. You have Sammy's Fine Jewelry. You have many people that are moving into the avenue that are going to have a tremendous opportunity to grow. We have the Fort McDowell Casino, that partnership, and continuing to try to encourage our community to have very strong bonds with the Fort McDowell. I think that needs to continue. And many initiatives, and as Dennis said, there's a tremendous amount of accomplishments that the last 4 years that I was not independently responsible for spearheading, but a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of, the continued growth of our community. I wish the incoming council members success. I hope that the council under Mayor Ginny Dickey continues to strive forward to try to have the balance that we need in this community, to focus on economic development, to focus on really having Fountain Hills be the absolute best. When people come to Arizona, they want to go see the Grand Canyon, they want to go to Sedona. Fountain Hills should be a name, a community that everyone that comes to Arizona wants to see, this beautiful community that we are blessed to live in. So thank you again for the honor to serve, and I hope to stay very involved in the community, and I thank you. God bless Fountain Hills, Arizona.
Thank you, Councilman. Does anybody on the council like to say a few words, or Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the opportunity to call Councilmember Brown this morning, and I said, Dennis, how long have you been on the council? Or how long have you been dedicating your time to the community? And he said 20 years. And I actually know people that have done less time for murder than 20 years. So it is really a commitment to give that much time to the community. I'll tell you, you really don't know what you're getting into when you get on the council. There is no such thing as running into CVS or anything and getting a prescription and walking out the door, because someone will stop you and tell you all the things you do wrong. So it's a commitment, and Dennis, you and I have disagreed on some big issues, but at the same time, you have calmed me with the David, and when I'm getting ready to lose my mind, and it's just been a really a mentor, and just had some really good insight with town planning and zoning issues that I didn't know anything about, that we sat and talked about recently, the painting of the community center and everything. And
I wish you the absolute best of luck. Enjoy not being on the council and having some freedom and not having to read bad emails. And Art and I were only together a couple years. We disagreed on a lot of things. But at the same time, we did agree on some things. Art, I wish you, success in your business and stay connected to the community and everything. And thank you for your service. You haven't served as long as Dennis. But as I said, when you guys were walking up this afternoon, I said, I'm jealous because 2 years are like measured in dog years. So when you're here, so best of luck to the both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll just go this way, if that's okay, Councilman?
I haven't been serving with either one of you that long, but I have one word to describe each of you two gentlemen. Dennis, the word experience comes to my mind. You have a lot of experience in this town, and I don't know how we replace that. It won't be easy to do. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Art, the word that comes to mind for you is passion. I don't think I know another person that has the passion you do for being on this council. I don't know where you get it from or what drives it, but that's something that I'll always remember about you. So again, thank you for your service. Okay.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman?
We all know the kinds of problems businesses are having throughout the country because of COVID. It's become a real disaster. Having said that, I want to compliment Art because he has given more to the business community than just about anybody else I know. He is always on the side of the business community, even when we disagree at times, but he's been a real cheerleader, and I appreciate that. Art and I, like with David, sometimes disagree, sometimes vigorously. But the best part is, and I really mean this, when it's over, he and I laugh and shake hands. And I just wish for every politician in this country, I just wish everybody could do that. You state your position, you do the best you can, and you move on. With Dennis, a lot of people talk about Fountain Hills as being one of the best towns, the most beautiful towns in the country. And there's one person sitting here, and that's Dennis, who's had a lot to do with that. Having spent, 2 decades in the trenches, working on issues from P&Z to the council, he's just been a stalwart. Dennis doesn't talk a lot during the debates and discussion. He's very measured, but when he speaks, it's well-reasoned and people listen, and he has an impact. And I don't think you can ask for more than that from an elected official. In the 6 years we've been sitting together, there have only been 2 issues where we vehemently disagreed with each other. I won't name them, but just 2 issues. That's pretty good for 6 years. When it was over and done with, what did we do? We move on. You state your position, you can do it vigorously, with facts and figures, and you can try to coax people to a certain way, but just like what I said before, when it's over, you walk away, you move on. So I just want to thank Dennis for everything he's done for this town over 2 decades. It's hard to replicate. I don't know how anybody could replicate what he's done. As I said, he's well-reasoned, he thinks things through, and he does what's in the best interest of the citizens.
And I say, boy, weren't you on the right side on those 2 issues?
Moving on, Councilman.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Well, everyone summed it up pretty well. I wish I would have gone first, because I got to come up with some new material here. But I've been sitting here next to Art for 2 years. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I agree with those guys. You have been a champion for the business community. You're a rock in terms of your consistency and your. You have a vision and you go for it. So that's to be commended. And I know you were on a council back east before moving out here to lovely Arizona and all the different organizations and the council you've been involved here. So that does take a lot of time and commitment, dedication. So thank you for that. And
The only thing I would say is I just wish you would have been a little more vocal over the years. Sometimes you're like beat around the bush, and I don't know where you're coming from or what side you're on, but just a little, little advice on the way out. So maybe you can work on that when you, and Dennis, 20 years, I think I was, like 22 and, back when you started, but, I had a lot of interaction with you when I was at the paper still, and obviously now the last 2 years up here at the council, and, been in your office a couple times for probably similar meetings like you had with Henry, so I appreciate your comments about Henry and all that, I thought during your talk, the one regret you had, I almost thought it was going to be Daybreak, but no, So for that, I got to call you kind of the vigilante of this council, because I know you like that word so much, and being a vigilante, you've always been, very independent, and you kind of know what you want, and you went for it, and you helped in so many ways, Dennis, and so we certainly appreciate that, and just keep it up, and I know you're going to keep building in this community, and you've built upon so much here at the council and the town, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So since we knew we weren't going to be able to have our regular party and a bunch of people here, I asked if anybody had anything online to say. No? Would anybody in the audience like to say anything about these two gentlemen, or just have any comments at all?
I want to say something more.
Oh, okay.
We missed someone. Our mayor was reelected.
No, that's okay. We're doing goodbyes.
No, I'm saying hellos. Just want to say what a great job you've done. I'm delighted the citizens were so smart to put you back in office for 2 years, and I've enjoyed working with you every minute.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to say a couple things, and I have gifts for you. And just as a kind of a wrap-up, I just wanted to say, of course, Dennis, you've been committed to Fountain Hills for so many years, as everybody has been saying. During my time with you on council, as we spoke, and now as mayor, I've come to rely on you for your knowledge and your experience. David, you mentioned the painting, and there's just so many things like that I'm going to miss having that input from you. He also helped when and you get back to the trash, we were on the committee that looked at the contracts, and there are that, and another thing is the roundabout, which are, we talk a lot about things that separate people, but these are issues that we were allies, and it was very, very helpful, and these things came to fruition, and I really appreciate that so much. Art, you said it yourself, you are clearly the voice for growth, economic development, building excitement into our town. Your relationships and experience in finance and in real estate is something that will really be missed. You understood and understand how those things can live together. A thriving community that maintains the scenery, but gets some excitement and draws some people in. And these are things that I know that will stay with us and with our new members. As we move forward, I just want to thank you so much. You gave your time, your talents, not only on the council, but as volunteers and commissioners over all of these years. And the people of Fountain Hills and the town are the better for it. So I'm going to give you these. You mentioned Sammy earlier. She made these beautiful pins. And I'm not going to take them out of the box because the boxes are really pretty, but they're these pins here, which I was lucky enough to get because I was off of the council and then back on.
That says Art.
It's got his name on it? No, they're not engraved. But see how pretty these are, and Sammy, as always, comes through for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and I think there's a pen and a couple other neat things in there. All right, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
we appreciate everything that you've done, and I think that we all should give them all our support and our thanks.
What are you guys doing?
Thanks, Art.
Thank you. Thank you.
So kind of abruptly, we switch gears and we go to the swearing-in part of our meeting. We're going to take the oaths of office. Our Judge Melton is here, and I will join Judge Melton, our new council members, over there there's the judge, thanks, and we'll come down and we'll do the oath of office. I'm going to give the gavel to our vice mayor, and he will take it from here. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I don't think they make you do this every 2 months, Jerry.
Yeah, that's true.
Just 2.
Your Honor, Your Honor.
So the theater's coming in play here, I don't know where my police is.
Who's going to be place 7?
Oh, I think he's going to stand right in front, and you stand right there, we'll stand here, and
Scott, you should be beside me.
all right. We're on your cue here.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Be a time and I'll ask you to insert your name. When you get to the office, I'll go individually. I, your name.
I, Jenny Daniels,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the laws of the state of Arizona,
and the laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
true faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies,
and defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially discharge the duties of the office council member.
Council member.
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
We'll stand in recess for 10 minutes.
Sorry. Thank you. Welcome back. We are going to have a roll call, please.
Mayor Dickey.
Here.
Vice Mayor Spellich.
Present.
Councilmember McMahon. Here. Councilmember Friedel.
Present.
Councilmember Charno.
Here.
Councilmember Magazine.
Here.
Councilmember Grzybowski. Here.
Thank you. Our first item is a presentation for our Fountain Hills Volunteer Program. Grady?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm delighted to have Kimberly Wicklund, our volunteer coordinator, come up to the podium. She will be providing the council a report and update from the volunteer program that she oversees. Kimberly?
Hello. I'm going to share a little bit about our volunteer program and our contributions from 2019 with you this evening. Oh, we're up there. Let's see. Okay. Our Fountain Hills volunteers believe that one of the defining characteristics of our community is our residents' commitment to service. This commitment is demonstrated through the energy, skills, enthusiasm, vision, and support that they bring to our town. I'm going to just highlight a few of our key volunteer programs for you. The first one being Give a Lift. Give a Lift is our volunteer medical transportation program. It provides essential medical transportation to Fountain Hills residents that are physically disabled or over 65 years old. Give a Lift was deemed an essential volunteer program, and we have continued to provide essential medical transportation throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. We did expand our services to include pharmacy and grocery deliveries to homebound residents. We currently have over 40 drivers and have fulfilled 148 ride requests so far this year. Our second program is Care Card. Care Card is our greeting card program for homebound seniors. It was developed in April of 2020 as a safe way for our senior residents to stay connected during the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to overwhelming support, Care Card was adopted as a permanent senior service program. We have received over 1,500 greeting card donations since April. We work with schools, civic organizations, faith groups, and individuals to create cheerful greeting cards with positive messages for our homebound seniors. Then there's Home Delivered Meals. Home Delivered Meals provides, the program provides nutritious meal assistance to Fountain Hills homebound residents. Fountain View Village prepares the meals daily. The cost of the meal is $6.50 a day. We have 160 volunteers that deliver on a daily basis, 365 days a year, including weekends and holidays. Home Delivered Meals also serves as a wellness check for its clients. Over 5,000 meals have been delivered in this past year. Well, our special events are definitely special to our volunteers. They build relationships with residents in our community. We typically host over 20 special events a year. Some of the larger events being Turkey Trot, Fourth at the Fountain, Make a Difference Day, and Extravaganza, just to name a few. Well, speaking of Make a Difference Day, I wanted to share a little bit about that day of service. It is the largest day of national community service in the United States. For the past 12 years, we have celebrated annually on the fourth Saturday of October, connecting volunteers with opportunities to serve others by providing assistance to the residents that are most vulnerable and in need. This past October, we were able to service 40 residents. We had 267 volunteers come out to help us make a difference, which equaled over 1,000 service hours. We had countless chuck truck debris pickups, which they filled 4 dumpsters with landscaping debris. It's unbelievable. We had 50 volunteers that helped to beautify our Fountain Hills High School campus, and 40 volunteers planted over 200 plants at Town Hall. We had over 200 greeting cards created for Care Card, and I received so many thanks from the residents that we helped. So we're very proud of our diverse program, Fountain Hills volunteer program here, from crisis response team to trailblazers to special events to art docents. We are 776 volunteers strong. I just wanted to highlight our 2019 volunteer contributions. When I record volunteer service hours, I have 3 categories: special events, ongoing events, and boards and commissions. For 2019, special events contributed 3,400 service hours with a value of $85,000 in time and service to the town of Fountain Hills. Ongoing events was 8,450 service hours with a value of $210,000. And boards and commissions, 630 hours with a value of $15,600. In total, for our 2019 volunteer contribution, we had 12,500 service hours, which is a value of over $310,000 to the time and service to the town of Fountain Hills. So looking forward, in 2021, we have 2 new exciting volunteer programs that will be launching. The first one is a monthly day of giving. This will be a small group opportunity to give back. There will be food drives, foster aid, animal shelters, student supply drives, and veteran services. We'll be partnering with different programs through the Valley Metro area. The second program is Adopt a Senior. Adopt a Senior is a companionship program for homebound seniors. This program will consist of weekly visits, wellness calls, seasonal care packages the clients will receive for a year, holiday celebrations, and some light home maintenance. Encore is our community partner and will be helping us to launch Adopt a Senior in the early part of 2021. And then we will continue to build our community partnerships with Fountain Hills Unified School District, our local faith communities, Extended Hands Food Bank, and our local civic clubs and organizations. And last but not least, a big heartfelt thank you to our incredible volunteers. Our Fountain Hills volunteers are the heart of our town, and it is truly a privilege to serve alongside of them. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Any comments or questions for Kimberly? Yes, Councilman?
It's a much different view from over here, I gotta say. And the lights are brighter, I don't know. But, not to put you on the spot, Kim, but just on the Give a Lift, you said there were 148 rides this past year. And I'm sure with COVID and everything, that's, way down. I'm just wondering, do you know offhand kind of the average for that program?
We were able to maintain, there was obviously a downtick with doctors' offices being closed and rescheduling. I'd say we're about 35% down from where we are, so not as much as expected. And we've regained rapidly since the appointments have been able to be reestablished.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty good core group of volunteers for that program.
We do, it's amazing.
As well as all the other ones, so.
Yeah, Give a Lift, they were our champions through this this last 6 months for sure.
Yeah, so, well, way to go.
I just had no idea that you guys did 12,500 hours worth of work for this town. That is tremendous, and my hat's off to you guys. So it's a great program. I just wanted to say that that's outstanding. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that don't know that too. So thank you again.
It is a very prideful town of volunteers, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hats off to you. And this is the first time that you've addressed us since I've been on the council. I would really like this to be in the newspaper, and we definitely need to, if us as council members didn't know the amount of hours that go noted, I think it should be definitely brought up and highlighted, because that's an unbelievable amount of hours, and kudos to you for organizing all of it. Thank you very much.
Yes, They make my job easy. They're wonderful. Yes, I will definitely share this information. Now I'll be reporting the 2020. They'll come out in January because we're a little bit behind with this reporting. But then, yeah, I've been gathering from the different groups. It will look a little different for this year to come for sure. But the next reporting will be out soon. So I'll partner with the paper for sure.
Well, thank you. So it's so clear that, as you all said, that we're a community of volunteers, and we've always been that way for, well, you know, at least the 38 years I've been here. And the value, though, you know, it's hard to put a numerical value on it, but you did. And I think when we talk about the relationships we have with the different groups and organizations in this town, we always have to bear that in mind, that sometimes these are the values that we get, that all of us get from the goodness of people doing things for, you know, just to serve others. And we really appreciate that. And we appreciate you. You stepped into it when, you know, in the middle of, we were, I think, just about to do the last Make a Difference Day. And it was just kind of a crazy time. And it's just been phenomenal. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you, Kimberly, very much.
Thanks so much for your time.
Next, we have our call to the public. Do we have any speaker cards? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to take this time to see if our newly elected council people would like to say anything about their, yes, ma'am. I neglected to do that right when you first came up, but this is a good time.
Good evening, everybody.
Whoop, need to turn your thing on. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and I would like to thank you for electing me the honor of being on the town council. I really look forward to serving, and I appreciate the warm welcome that I have received from Mayor Dickey and all of my fellow council members, from Grady Miller, the town manager, and your superior staff, and Attorney Aaron. I really appreciate it, and I really look forward to working with all of you to represent our town and our community, and with integrity and transparency. So again, thank you, and I hope everybody has happy holidays.
It's kind of funny doing this after having served a couple of months, but I am humbled and honored to be able to serve the town that I live in. It was a goal of mine many years ago to be able to give back to the town. So in some small way, I hope to be able to do that and bring some of my skills to the council and to the town. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to serve and look forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
I'm not sure what to say. I have so much that is in my head that I'd like to say. First, thanks to everybody that voted for me. I appreciate your support. I appreciate the welcome that we've gotten from all of our fellow council people. And I appreciate all of the council people and mayors before us. You guys paved the ways for us. We're just here to make sure that the road stays smooth, maybe a few less potholes, for the oncoming generations. I also had an opportunity to sit with a whole lot of current and previous council members before I took the role, so I could get a little mentorship and get some advice from them, and that was just overwhelming. The brain power that they all carry with them about our history was just overwhelming for me. And I told Dennis I'm going to miss him a lot because he's got a lot of stuff up there, and I plan on calling him in and annoying him. But thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to say congratulations to our 3 new elected members. I'm looking forward to serving alongside of all of you. We have an opportunity to create a positive atmosphere locally here, you know, despite these challenging times, even because of them. And we're all going to be included. The entire town is going to be included as we work together for this community that we love so clearly. We have goals and visions that are being worked on right now by those volunteers that we talk about. And I just think that I wanted to thank you all for stepping up, existing and staff and everybody, because it's been a heck of a year. I think when Kimberly mentioned something was supposed to be done at a certain time, I think we have a good answer for that from now on, and it's just going to be 2020. That's it, 2020. And we're going to move on, and we're going to do great things, and I want to welcome you again, and I really appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you. So we have our consent agenda, which is, we always ask if you want to take something off the consent agenda, we can, otherwise we'll take one motion and we will approve it.
Motion to approve consent
Second.
agenda?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Yay, your first vote.
It's unanimous.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, let's keep it that way. No. Our first regular agenda item is to approve our calendar. Grady?
Yes, Mayor and Council. So each year about this time, we bring to Council the anticipated official meeting schedule for the next year. This way, it helps council members, particularly those at work, to be able to plan and work around these. So before you, what you have is the town council meeting dates, as well as the anticipated workshops if we need them, and then also the summer break. Typically, the summer, we take off close to 2 months. It's about 8 weeks. And we would be happy to entertain any questions that you may have, or if you have any other requests, since this item's on the agenda for your review.
Thank you. Councilman?
Yeah, I want to make a motion that the summer recess be extended to 3 months.
Staff is all behind that.
Any questions or comments? The motion's on page 71, if someone would like to do that. Second, please.
I'll second.
Somebody. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Thank you. Next, we have our appointment for council people to subcommittees for 21 and 22. These are the subcommittees that interview and recommend residents to serve on our boards and commissions. More volunteers. We have in front of us the suggested subcommittees. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like to change anything? You okay with it? And again, we will switch so that not everybody always has to do the same committee. You know, you'll get a chance to interview for the different commissions. No, there are no speaker cards or anything like that.
And I'll just remind the council, so we had a very complicated process before. It just was very challenging to get these meetings scheduled. We used to basically have one committee for each board and commission, and it got to be very cumbersome to manage. So with Liz's help, it was about a year ago, right, that we instituted this for the first time. We split up the boards and commissions into 2 different groupings, and then requested the council to consider being assigned to either a committee, subcommittee A or subcommittee B, with the idea that the following year we'll rotate it, so everyone has an opportunity to interview and nominate folks to serve on various different boards and commissions. So throughout your entire term, you'll have an opportunity to appoint people, for instance, to Planning and Zoning Commission, you know, for all of you, whereas before it wasn't always that way. So with that,
Thank you. So can I get a motion that's on 74?
I move to approve mayor's appointments of the council subcommittees A and B.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks for serving. Speaking of, the next item is also, we have a lot of regional partners and a lot of good positions, and you guys have really stepped up again. So I'm going to read what the groups do, the different organizations, and the folks that are being appointed, and then we are going to take action on it, but it's going to be with the idea that, you know, each of these groups will be, they'll be notified. I don't know when they actually make their changes, but then they'll know, and then we'll put in our requests, and we'll see how it goes from there. But this is where we want to go with it. So the first one is the East Valley Partnership, which is a coalition of civic, business, educational, and political leaders dedicated to the economic development and promotion of the East Valley of Greater Phoenix. So they have a board of directors, and Councilwoman Peggy McMahon, we are going to be recommending her for that. And then they have some subcommittees, Advocacy and Government Relations. Council member Alan Magazine is going to serve on that. They have a committee on economic development and aviation and aerospace. So Sharon, Councilwoman Sharon Grzybowski, and then Transportation Subcommittee is also Councilwoman Sharon Grzybowski. And we'll be working together with Angela and others to get those things in motion. We have our Greater Phoenix Economic Council. You hear me talk about them all the time. They actively work to attract and grow quality businesses and advocate for the competitiveness of the Greater Phoenix area. They have a group that meets that's made up of mayors and supervisors, so I'm on that one. And they have a board of directors, which they were kind enough for us to have Sharon, Councilwoman Grzybowski, start, and she's going to represent Fountain Hills on the board of directors of GPEG, so we really appreciate that. The League of Cities and Towns, you hear us talk about them all the time. They're a voluntary membership organization of incorporated municipalities in Arizona. They exist to provide vital services and tools to their members. They have policy committees which every year get together and decide, the cities put forth proposals that they'd like to see maybe the legislature take a look at. And these policy committees look at them, and then they decide if they want to further them, and then it goes through this whole process. One of the committees they have is on neighborhoods, quality of life, and sustainability. We had Councilwoman Sherry LaCrone on that, and now we have Councilwoman Peggy McMahon stepping up for that. Vice Mayor David Svelich, he was on the Public Safety, Military Affairs, and Courts, and he will continue on that. And then Mike Charno, councilman, is on Transportation, Infrastructure, and Public Works. So those are really great to have our representation on. MAG, yeah, you hear me talk about that a lot. They have ensure cooperation, pooling of common resources. They identify and comprehensively plan for solutions for regional problems, and they attain the greatest degree of intergovernmental relationships possible for our future growth in our region. They have a regional council, which is normally made up of mayors and some other representatives, like from the Fort McDowell and ADOT and others. So I'm on that. The Domestic Violence Council is something that we were active in several years ago, and now Councilman Jerry Friedel has offered to serve on that, and we really appreciate you doing that. And last but not least is Valley Metro, which is a regional public transportation agency. They provide and coordinate transit services to residents of metropolitan Phoenix. Councilman Charno has been serving on the board of directors, and he'll continue doing that. And as we move forward with this Prop 400 extension, it's really important that we're at the table in all of these areas. So I really want to thank you all for volunteering to serve in these capacities. For a town like us, it's really important to have our voice heard. Do we have any speaker cards on this? No? Any discussion? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the council members too, that we're here, the staff is here to help you if you have some research or there are items that you need assistance with while you're in your capacity on, in your role on these different boards and commissions or these regional affairs. So we would be happy to help research or help you with something if you're, you're assigned to a task force or what, we'll help you with that.
Thank you for saying that, because I neglected to say that we have staff on some of these committees too, these technical committees. Grady's on a couple of them, and David, and our engineers, and so we make sure that our interests are at least on the table. Maybe Prop 400 will come through for us. So if there's no other discussion, it's the motion's on page 77.
I move to approve the council assignments to represent the town with the various regional organizations.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Our next item is approving Fountain Hills Facility Reservation Guidelines. I think Grady and Rachel?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to have our Community Services Director, Rachel Goodwin, address this item. Timing is very good because we're going to be getting into the next calendar year, and it'll be very helpful to have these guidelines in place. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Goodwin.
All right, thank you. I wasn't planning actually to do this presentation tonight. Our Recreation Manager, Linda Ayers, was intended to do this. This has sort of been her baby, but unfortunately she is going to be out for a little bit, so I'm here tonight to kind of finish this process. So tonight we are going to be reviewing a few changes to our facility reservation guidelines. What I'd like to preface this with is we have a number of guidelines that we operate under right now. This effort is to combine them and make everything uniform so that we're making, we have consistent policies across the board. So I'll probably move through this relatively quickly, but if you have questions, please let me know. Right now, we have a number of reservable items out in our parks. That includes our ramadas, our different sport courts, tennis, volleyball, basketball, and then our different ball fields, whether they be, as I've described them, diamonds or rectangles. Folks can reserve a number of these things. But we have different ways of doing that. We have different timelines of when you can reserve them, for how long you can reserve them, things like that. Folks that can use our amenities, it's very broad. We have different users. We have our school district, obviously, is a big user, especially of our sports fields, youth organizations, our different leagues and things like that here in town. Obviously, the programs that myself and our staff put on. Residents, visitors can rent them. Tournaments come in, we host things, and then we have other private organizations that use them as well. So again, it's a pretty broad user group. That in turn has led to some issues that have cropped up. Actually, it has, through a number of different things, we've had increased demand for private and league access to our facilities, which is great. We want people to use them, and we want folks to be able to. But we want to be able to have a identified hierarchy of who can use them, when they can use them, and who gets first dibs, if you will. Again, I mentioned we sort of have some inconsistent reservation policies, i.e. you can reserve a ramada 3 months in advance, you can reserve a ball field 6 months in advance. We want to make sure that we're, again, putting everything in a consistent way. We have an increased demand for weekend reservations. Right now, our tennis courts have no weekend reservations. It's all drop-in. We've had an increased request for those. We allow other facilities to be reserved on weekends. We'd like to make sure, again, that all of our amenities are consistent. We have variable reservation windows. Again, this comes back to our tennis. Our tennis you can rent for an hour and a half. Everything else is by the hour. Again, we just want to kind of consolidate everything. And then again, we have insurance requirements. When we have outside groups come in to host ball tournaments, they have insurance requirements. Right now, we don't have those requirements recommended on our sport courts. So again, just trying to keep everything equal. So what Linda and her team did was put together what we're calling a proposed priority usage. What happens a lot of times is that we have different groups all come at us at once and say, well, we'd like to reserve the next 6 months for tennis or for Little League or for soccer. But we have multiple asks from multiple groups, and we're trying to figure out how to make sure that how the priority will be divvied up. First and foremost, we'd like to see that the Fountain Hills programs, approved events, and maintenance get first priority. If there's a safety issue or there's something going on that we've programmed, whether it's a pitch hit and run or whether it's an annual egg hunt, those should have first priority, and then we will schedule additional things around it. Next would be organizations with formal agreements or youth-serving agencies. These are our leagues. These are our partnerships with Boys and Girls Club and things like that, the school district. Those that have that user group, whether it's youth here in the community or is serving 60% or greater residency. So we'd like to see those have the next set of priority. Following that, it would be general public reservation. So this is your one-time use, whether you want to reserve a tennis court for a game or you want to have a pickup basketball game planned. Again, you want to be able to have that amenity ready for you when you get there. You don't want to assume it's there, get there and find that there's nothing available. Next would be our commercial or private organizations. Again, these would be outside groups. For instance, we have a baseball group that uses our fields 3 days a week during the weekday. That is a private organization, and they do, they would have fourth priority and work with them to make sure that we have insurance and deposits and things like that. And then lastly would be open use. That would be when you show up and hope to have a tennis court available or a basketball court open. So that is our proposed priority usage so that we have, again, some consistency. And then we'd like to adjust some of our tennis policies to be more in line. As I mentioned, the reservation increments, limiting the maximum number of days any one person can reserve from 5 to 3. Limiting weekend reservations for tournaments and leagues while allowing some reservations for our residents. And then adding some insurance requirements when we do have those leagues come into our sport courts. So those are our general changes and our recommendations for the priorities. This has gone through the Community Services Advisory Commission. It's been reviewed by that commission and was approved. We've also met with a number of our tennis user groups to make sure they understand the demands and how these changes would affect them, and they've supported that. So this is requested for your approval this evening with the implementation and effective date of January 1. Questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rachel, I see an issue with this. I'm for it, but the issue that I see with this is who is going to be the enforcement arm of someone who reserves it, someone's playing on it. How do you tell that person to leave? Who are they going to call before tennis rackets start flying? Ramadas that are, people get there early in the morning and think it's first dibs, but then somebody, just basically who is the enforcement arm of a problem that I definitely see going to happen?
Yes, that's a great question, and that is a problem we have already. What we currently have is we have kiosks posted at each of the amenities with the reservations posted. They get updated each day. They get updated on Fridays for the weekend ahead. We do have park attendants that are here on weekends and evenings. That's technically who is the first line of defense, if you will. There's a number posted so that if you do get to your Ramada and find that someone's there, that person, that our park attendant is authorized to go in and remind folks that, hey, this is a rented facility. Here's a reservation schedule. It's posted for public awareness. Push comes to shove, we certainly have enforcement through MCSO if that had to happen. Thankfully, that isn't usually an issue. Generally, when it's posted, it's pretty clear that someone has paid for access to that versus drop-in. Does it happen? It does on occasion. But thankfully, now that this will actually help in that regard, in that we have something that will be formalized, that we can say, these are the guidelines. Right now, it's an informal process. So we'd like to make sure that we can point to this and make sure that all reservations, all folks that are looking to reserve or have made a reservation, this can be part of their receipt and they understand what can and can't be done and what those priorities are.
So would we be able to provide maybe the park attendant on duty an iPad or something where he could show people? Like if there's here's what I foresee happening, we'll prove it. So if the park attendant has an iPad or something that they can go, well, here, you see that this is reserved, maybe it'll be less than, well, I'm just telling you it's reserved. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So if there's something that we could maybe give them as a tool that they could say, hey, it's been reserved, here it is.
Sure, that's something we can certainly look into.
Do the reservations also apply to pickleball courts, which I understand are very popular, and I didn't hear you mention them?
You are correct. They are very popular, but they are not ours. They are not a town amenity. They are actually on the school property, and they are governed and overseen by the school in conjunction with the pickleball club.
Really?
We as a town actually do not have any public pickleball courts. You might hear that in a future conversation because they are very popular, and there has been some questions about that. But yes, the courts that you're thinking of are actually not ours.
I had no idea. Thank you.
Hi, Rachel. When I was going through the park rules, it said no alcohol without a permit. Now, who writes those who does the permitting process?
The permitting process happens up at Town Hall here when you actually do the reservation with Rhonda or whomever's at the front desk. When you do that, you can fill out the paperwork right there. It's a quick, easy permit.
And I was just wondering, it says that we charge $10 for that. To me, that doesn't seem like it's enough, but I'll leave that up to you guys to decide that, but it seems like it's very cost-effective for the...
It is a very nominal fee, you're right. I think, and with the new fee study that just completed and was just approved and will be implemented as of July 1, I believe that fee has gone up a bit. I want to say it might be at $20 now. So it's all gone up 100%, but it's still relatively nominal for the purposes, yeah.
Okay. And then rule number 14 said that violators of the park rules will be prosecuted. It doesn't say anywhere in that list that they would be asked to remove be removed from the premise or anything like that. Are we going to allow violators to continue to violate, or are we going to ask them to leave? And if we are, maybe that should be expanded to say that in there.
Agreed. I think it was probably implied, but yeah, it probably needs to be stated clearly in there. So we can make that amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Rachel, on the prioritization, I know we have a IGA with the school district and that kind of thing. And, you know, years ago, they kind of built some of their own fields by the middle school. But, you know, I understand having our own programs first, but I mean, you know, they have the tennis program and maybe a few other things like the sand volleyball. You don't foresee any problems scheduling that, having them in second place in terms of priority as far as their needs?
You know, that's a great question. The IGA has really actually resurfaced quite a bit this fall. Obviously, they do have a lot of their own facilities now. Probably they didn't at one point. But this fall, we found that a lot of their sport programs were not able to use those facilities for whatever reason. I think, again, schools were still closed, or basketball wanted to be outside versus in an indoor facility, which makes sense. So we found that a lot of the school programs were using our parks. We had the swim team in our parks doing dry land conditioning. We had the basketball team out there. We had sand volleyball out there. We had a number of folks, and we've actually had the baseball and softball teams out practicing in the parks. So again, we've been working around our maintenance schedule to make sure that they have access through that. And that's usually the big roadblock, if there is one, is that we have maintenance or we have something else going on the fields, whether it's repairs or prep for something. But as of right now, we've been able to accommodate all of those requests through the school.
And sounds like you guys have kind of worked it all out in terms of, yeah. All right, thanks.
And I was just going to point to your point that you brought up, Councilmember. We run into the same issue. There were occasions when we were wanting to use the gym at the high school during the summertime for some of our programs, and we found that some of the same prioritization they were using, why we couldn't use it, because they were in maintenance mode because the kids are gone for the summer, and they were trying to use get those gym floors totally maintained, or they had other things going on. So it's very similar. I think that the staff did a great job in putting together these priorities because they are very similar to what you would see in other communities, and even school districts would mirror a lot of this as well. I do think the comments that were made, I think we'll definitely take it back and make some changes. I think we definitely don't want to go to prosecute right away. I think definitely when we want to give warnings, and I think that was implied, but I think it would be better to put that in there so the staff, we don't have a rogue park attendant that tries to get somebody prosecuted right away or arrested. And also, I know that while Rachel mentioned that we do have written reservations that are at the sites when we have reservations, I also know that people sometimes will just rip those up. So it would be helpful for someone to be maybe armed with a tool like an iPad or something while they're on shift. So we'll take a look at that. So those are all very good suggestions.
Yes.
So, Grady, so do you think the IGAs we have in place are pretty much current and up to speed and good, or we need to revisit those?
I think we need to revisit them. Both, I would say that they would say that they'd want to revisit them anyways. And then there's one item that Rachel and I have been wanting to address for a few years now, and that's transportation. Maybe that with some of the buses that they have and such, that we may be able to use their buses like for like a summer camp, to have the kids maybe transported for recreation, amenities throughout the valley, or go up north for a stay overnight kind of summer camp. So I think there's opportunities. I would say though, probably 90% we're satisfied, and I think the school district's probably pretty satisfied. So it's a pretty good IGA overall.
Anybody else have any comments? Were there any speaker cards? No. Oh, okay. Thank you, Rachel. If you're ready to make a motion, someone?
I'll go ahead and move approval.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the facility reservation guidelines, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Stepping in. Next, I think Grady, you'll take this.
Yes, I'm going to have some
Thank you.
assistance from our finance director, but I'll lead off on this particular item. So the item before you is a request for consideration of granting the 2.5% cost of living adjustment for the employees. This 2.5% cost of living adjustment is actually budgeted in the budget that was approved by council. We made a commitment to the council at the time that the council considered the tentative budget and also the final budget, that we would be coming back not only on this item, but to review the finances of the town, because we were very concerned about the pandemic and what impact that may have on our revenues and also some of our expenditures. We did have a report to the council on October 19th, and as you remember, the finances are actually better than we were anticipating. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Pock, who's going to give you a little bit of a report, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you may have as well. Mr. Pock?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Hopefully this would be a brief update. And of course, it would help if my slides go. Okay, so a quick background, basically just reiterating what Grady had mentioned. This also proved as a little bit of a heads up for the budget season that's just about to get started. Our proposed budget is a result of, comes as a result of our council retreat that happens in February. So this current year's proposed budget originally included a 3.5% increase that was going to go into effect in July of 2020. The next process, or the next step in the budget process, is a tentative budget that's adopted by council that actually sets the maximum that we're allowed to spend in any given year. During the proposed and the tentative, that 3.5% was reduced to 2.5%. And then the next step is the actual adoption of the budget in June. At that point, it was decided that we would take that 2.5% and postpone it to take effect in January, pending the outcome of our revenues. So that is where we are now. As Grady mentioned, we had our revenue update for the first quarter at the October, second meeting in October. And then the last point on this slide, implementation of the 2.5%, if it goes into effect, if that's what council decides, for the first pay period beginning in January, would equate to just over $59,000 for the remainder of the year. Now, in honor of the new council members, I decided to bring some good news. So since our meeting in October, I do have the final numbers for October for a couple of our revenues. The October sales tax, local sales tax revenues, they're still going strong. We actually brought in $225,000 more than what we had budgeted for October. That brings the cumulative sales tax revenue to $4.8 million that's been collected in the first 4 months of the fiscal year. And then our state's shared sales tax, as you know, it's one of 4 of the state shared revenues. This one's a little bit more variable depending on sales activity in the whole state. That's actually starting to trend upwards. So our first quarter, we were down 22,000 compared to what we had budgeted. Actually, in October, we're just $1,000 below what we had budgeted. So it's not perfect yet, but I like the way it's looking, so that does help. For the first 4 months, we've collected $917,000. So it's good news. It was good news last month or in October, and it's continuing to get better. So knock on wood. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilman?
David, when would the cost of living increase become effective again?
It would start with the pay period that begins on January 4th.
And why was it reduced from 3.2 or whatever it was?
Basically just because of the uncertainty around this year's revenues.
Well, I guess I have some questions about that. It looks fairly certain that we're going to have a vaccine or several vaccines within the next month or two, and that the vast majority of the population will probably have it by summer, which says to me that our receipts should go up quite a bit as a result of that. We had reduced the cost of living from what figure?
From 3.5% to 2.5.
And now we're talking about a total of, where did I see it, $59,141. If we had left it at 3.5, any idea what it would be? How much difference?
I don't have that.
Can't be much, 20, 25?
It wouldn't be a lot, no. But it's just because of the, it's not straight salaries. It also, affects.
Benefits.
Right.
I would like, our staff works very hard, and they're very good. And I would like to see us reward them with more than the 2.5%. If, in fact, the reason we reduced it was because of the uncertainty of the financial situation, and now given what it looks like, first of all, we're in much better shape than we expected, and we expect it will get a lot better with the vaccine. I'm not going to make a motion, but I'd like to hear some council discussion about increasing it to the 3.5. I thought I had another question. I don't.
Just ask a couple of things for clarification. So it was in the budget that we approved, it was 2.5
Correct. It was 2.5 for 12 months.
for 12 months. And so this is 2.5 for 6 months.
Correct.
So that's another way to look at it if you want to, play around with the numbers a little bit, because this is actually half of what we approved.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
I don't want to put, well, I guess I am putting Grady in a bad position. Do you have any response to that, Grady?
Well, because we budgeted for 12 months at 2.5%, clearly it would, if the council's pleasure was to have something greater than 2.5%, so long as it didn't exceed the annualized amount for 2.5%, I would be fine. It would only be a concern if we didn't budget the full amount for the 12 months.
Grady, I think we budgeted 2.5%.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying, 2.5% for 12 months. So obviously the math will work. And I had thought that we had made a change to 2.5% for 6 months. But I was reminded of that recently, that no, we didn't want to mess up the budget too much badly, because we already had the tentative, the 2.5% already. So it's up to the council. We could, if the council kept the 2.5%, we can always make up and do something July 1st with a different number. So it's a policy decision before the council. Certainly at the time, the pandemic, as Mr. Pock mentioned, we didn't really know what to anticipate. And so we're being very prudent, very conservative, not knowing what to anticipate. So I think it's very much a policy decision the council could make.
I think I need clarification. So we budgeted for a year,
Correct.
and that would be double that.
Right.
So rather
So it would have
rather
been
than,
just less than.
rather
yeah.
than talking about changing the percentage, it might be easier to just talk about giving it over the 6 months the same amount. Councilwoman?
I have a question. Is there room in the budget with this without much impact, since you really basically were more frugal? And, you know, kind of, it sounds like you were skirting the issue in some respects about having it be 1% higher. Now, if we say yes, go and 1% higher, will it really impact the budget that much in a negative way?
If it was to, I would assume that 3.5% for 6 months would definitely fall under the amount that was budgeted for 2.5% over 12 months. It wouldn't put us in a bad position just because it was already budgeted. And it was, the step was just taken to be more conservative to see where the revenues were coming in for the first quarter, so.
Councilwoman?
I am a huge advocate of retaining quality employees, and one of the ways you do that is to spend the money on them. It costs more money to go replace somebody that's not making what they think they need to make, whether it be you hire a headhunter or whatever. That expense is greater than the 3.5% that we're talking about giving them as a raise. If we've got quality employees, I think we need to take advantage of it, and I'd be all for it.
Thank you. Councilman?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we increase the amount from 2.5 to 3.5%.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? So to be clear, oh, yes, Councilman? Vice Mayor?
Do we have another meeting in December, right? We have another meeting?
We do. The reason why this was before you, there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done manually to get signed off and then to input it into the payroll system. That's the only reason why it was on this meeting versus the 15th.
So they actually have hard figures and what the actual impact is and be precise on what we're voting for.
Well,
We couldn't do it in the next December meeting and that still
Well,
give
just-
everybody what they need?
I believe we could do that, yes.
Council-
Just to let you know, for 6 months, it's $59,141 for 2.5%.
Correct.
It was twice that was budgeted. And we're going with, what I'm hearing is 3.5% for 6 months, which would be considerably less than 118,000. But if that's the pleasure of the council, we'd be happy to do that on the 15th.
Can I just say, I don't think I want to do it on the 15th because we have a very special meeting that we're trying to not have too many items on our agenda. I think if you want to take a recess, we could figure this out because 259,141 is 2.5% of X, and then find the 3.5% of it, and we can figure it out. It's going to be less than 59,000 more than this is. So it's going to be somewhere between
$25.
$120,000 and $60,000. And if you want to take the time, we can figure it out. Right?
Correct. And Madam Mayor, as to your point, I mean, there is the option of setting a dollar figure that, you know, if you wanted to do a certain dollar figure and we take and amortize that over the remaining 6 months. We don't need to talk percentages necessarily, but that's how it was presented to council
If,
with the budget, so.
if somebody wanted to make an amendment or amend the motion to have it be 2.5% over 12 months, then we'll know it's double this. If not, it's going to be less than double this. All right? So it's up to you. I mean, I'm fine either way.
Motion on the floor.
Pardon me?
Said motion on the floor.
Oh, I know, we're discussing your motion right now.
Well, you can't do it over 12 months though, because you're going in the next budget year, right?
Well, it would be the amount over 6, it would be the same amount that we budgeted for in June, but it would just be given between now and next
For
year.
the 6 months?
Yeah. So if you want, we can vote on the, on Alan's without knowing the exact amount, but knowing what it is, or,
I could certainly get you that information by tomorrow. I realize the question is, he wants to know that before the vote. I
Well,
fully
I'm not trying to be
understand
difficult, I just, you know, when we're up here and we're making decisions on money, I just would like to know exactly what the money is. I just, you know, instead of, I think it's this. But I'm okay with the way Councilman Magazine said it.
okay.
Let's vote.
Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion was to direct staff to implement a 3.5% cost of living adjustment, starting with the pay period that begins on January 4th, 2021. Any further discussion or speaker cards? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Follow-up question, if I could.
Sure.
Grady, are we competitive across the various job classifications? How often do we look at that?
We look at that very closely. In fact, when I started here, in 2014, I was the HR director, and we were very uncompetitive, or not competitive at the time. The reason for that is the previous management, when the HR director who worked for him at the time recommended cost of living adjustments, employees got the adjustments, but the pay plan never got adjusted by the cost of living adjustments. And that happened for a number of years. And as a result, the minimum and maximum never kept up with the cost of living adjustments, which by their nature should be making us competitive. So we started working with Dave Trimble. We started making adjustments about 5% a year, because we tried to do a class and comp study. The council, a couple times we attempted that. They didn't want to put out the money on it. So we were able to use the LIG survey that they do, and we've been able to make ourselves very competitive. There's only a few positions that are not that competitive, and through the budget process, we'll go through a re-range, or we'll do a market analysis, and we'll make adjustments to individual positions. But for the most part, with the exception of some of the upper management in town, we're very competitive with most of the mid-sized cities in the valley.
How do we do regarding recruitment? I don't even know how to ask the question. I mean, do we have many problems? Do we have?
We used to. The biggest problem we have now, and we talked about this at the retreat last year, is that we're not a member of the Arizona State Retirement System, and we've been actively trying to work with them on seeing what it would take for us to join, based on the council direction we had at the retreat. That's the biggest obstacle right now. Our salaries are much more competitive now than they were 5 years ago. And so I can tell you without hesitation that we've been able to get some really good hires, because now we're much more competitive with the Valley. So it's been, and the council's really part of this solution too, because you've been approving each year the pay plan as part of the budget process. So you've been an integral part of this process too.
I'll just say that I'm impressed for the hires you've made, which tend to be senior hires. I've been very impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So if my little scratching out here is right, I think it's about $83,000 total, which is saving us, whatever, $47,000 less than what we approved in the budget. Okay?
I voted yes.
No.
What do you want?
More.
Madam Mayor, I'll be sure to get the final numbers and email those to the council.
But we do appreciate your council consideration of this item, and I'm sure the employees will be very pleased.
Thank you very much. Okay, our last item is our usual council discussion direction to town manager. Anything for the good of the order? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Grady, I'd like to see in January or February if we could get an executive session now that new council members are seated on the fee waiver that we had talked about.
So Jenny, did you want to share with him the conversation we had about the work session that we were planning?
Yeah, if I remember correctly. So we did talk about this, and I don't think it's executive session level ability to talk about it in an executive session because there's very strict rules about what you can and can't. So we're going to talk about how the fact that this whole topic is maybe in a place it shouldn't be in, which is with naming streets, naming buildings. It's kind of all in that same area of the ordinances and such. So we're going to talk about that first, and then and that would be
January 19th is what we're talking about.
15th, right? Or, sorry, yeah, 19th. And then we'll continue that to probably the next meeting, the first meeting in February, which would be to hone in on that particular aspect of it.
So I just want to let you know, it's been on the, when you look at the future council agendas list, it's on the parking lot. And then today, just today, Jenny and I were trying to fine tune the date on that. So it's been on the radar.
Thank you. Any others? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.